In Capital News tonight, the government says it is committed to increase production of fertilizer in the country. Police have seized stolen slaughtered cows in a vehicle at Tunduma border, Songwe region. And in sports, Tanzania's swimmers return with lessons learned from the Melbourne Swimming Championships. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Carlos Banda. First, the national news. Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa has said that the government will continue to create a conducive environment that will attract investors in production of agricultural inputs, particularly fertilizers, instead of depending on imports. Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa made the statement in Dodoma during a tour at Itracom factory constructed by an investor from Burundi.
Hapa sasa ndio tunaanza kuona faida.
Now we're about to see the value of having a serious investor, and that is our president's every now and then call. She only needs serious investors in the country. Everybody should be accountable and making things smooth for investors.
Tumefanya mabadiliko ya kodi na kutoa incentive kwa viwanda vya ndani.
We have removed taxes and gave out incentives for domestic factories. In September, we have removed 3% royalty, which was charged on Manyara phosphate, and changed it to 1%. All these efforts are to make sure that we support increase in production.
Cost of production.
A special police patrol task force at the border of Tunduma, Songwe region, has seized a Noah car with registration numbers T734 CYP carrying a cargo of stolen slaughtered cargoes alleged to have been stolen. In the incident, the driver of the vehicle managed to escape.
Kwamba kuna watu wanashiriki kwenye wizi wa mifugo, baadaye wanawachinja na kuwauza kinyemela. Kwa hiyo wenyewe walishtuka mapema na kuweza kutoroka. Haiki msingi ukiangalia ni vichwa viwili vya ng'ombe pamoja na miguu mitano. Kwa hiyo vinatupa ishara kwamba ni ng'ombe aidha wawili au zaidi wawili walikuwa wamekamatwa. Na kwenye operation hiyo pia tumefanikiwa kukamata pikipiki zaidi ya 15 ambazo zinawatuhumiwa, lakini zingine zimetelekezwa. Zikawa zimeachwa kwenye maeneo ambayo polisi walikuwa kwenye doria. Doria hizo pia zimefanikisha ukamataji wa bangi kiasi cha kilo zaidi ya 7, lakini pia na watuhumiwa wa makosa mbalimbali.
50 people have been arrested after allegedly entering buildings belonging to Tanzania Forest Services in Mtibwa Forest Estate in Mvomero District, Morogoro region, and causing massive destruction of property and stealing various items.
Mamlaka ya Jeshi la Uhifadhi kwa kushirikiana na Jeshi la Polisi hadi sasa tumeshakamata watuhumiwa takriban 50 wanaojishughulisha na shughuli mbalimbali katika maeneo ya jirani, ikiwemo shughuli za kilimo na shughuli za ufugaji. Lakini baadhi ya mali zilizoibwa katika kambi hii, ikiwemo vyakula, pia vimepatikana. Kwa hiyo Jeshi la Polisi linaendelea kufanya uchunguzi na kuwahoji wote waliokamatwa ili kubaini hasa waliohusika na swala hili na hatua za kisheria ziweze kuchukuliwa. Na kwa hakika hatua kali za kisheria zitachukuliwa dhidi ya kila mmoja ambaye alihusika. Kuimarisha ulinzi katika msitu mzima kwa kuongeza askari na kuongeza pia silaha na vifaa vingine vya kutenda kazi kuwezesha Jeshi la Uhifadhi na Jeshi la Polisi kufanya kazi yake. Kwa hiyo msako mkali utaendeshwa ndani ya msitu huu kwa kushirikiana pia na viongozi wa serikali za vijiji wanaozunguka msitu huu ili kubaini wale wote ambao bado wako ndani au waliokimbilia maeneo ya jirani na kijiji hiki ili kuweza kuwakamata na kuchukua hatua mbalimbali dhidi yao.
Tanzania Ports Authority TPA has said that as from 1st January next year, it will manage all operations involving handling of cargo at the port of Dar es Salaam as the contract of Tanzania International Container Terminal Services TICTS has ended.
Niwaambie ndugu waandishi, tarehe 1
On 1st January 2023, Tanzania Ports Authority will begin running on places that were operated by TICTS. Although the contract with TICTS is not terminated, all TICS employees' employments are safe, they will continue working and paid their salaries.
Najua mlikuwa na hamu sana ya kusikia hizi taarifa. Si kwamba narudia tena, si kwamba mkataba ule umevunjwa, hapana.
Groups of small and commercial sugarcane farmers from 4 wards at Kiru Valley in Babati District, Manyara region, have called on the Sugar Board in the country to collaborate with the district councils and establish a crop research center in order to address diseases and pests affecting sugarcane in the district.
Magonjwa tulionayo tumeanza kuzungumza sisi wenyewe tujiunge.
Diseases that affect the crop needs to have aerial spray pesticide, which we must arrange ourselves to do this instead of being done individually, because work done will be equal to 0.
Sasa tulikuwa tunaomba tuna kata 4 ambao tuna wataalamu 4.
There is 4 wards and 4 experts. We are calling on them to be given more training on this crop so that there will be enough to serve the community instead of depending much on extension officers from the ministry and TARI.
Moja ya tatizo ambalo changamoto ambayo ilikuwa narudisha nyuma wakulima ni upatikanaji wa mbegu bora. Na bodi ya sukari waliona tatizo hili kwamba ni hitaji la wananchi, wakaamua kuja kuanzisha vitalu vya aina 3 tofauti za mbegu za miwa, mbegu bora, ili wakulima waweze kusambaziwa mbegu hizo na yamkini basi kipato chao kiweze kuongezeka kutokana na ongezeko la tija katika kilimo cha miwa.
The Drugs Control and Enforcement Authority in the country has destroyed more than 1,500 kilos of heroin and cocaine, as well as more than 2 tons of marijuana, which were seized in various parts of Dar es Salaam and coast regions.
Zoezi hili la kuteketeza dawa za kulevya ni liko kwa mujibu wa sheria, kwa sababu kama tunafanya mashauri na lengo letu ni kuhakikisha kwamba dawa hizi haziingii mtaani, tuna jukumu pia kuhakikisha kwamba linateketezwa katika mazingira ambayo yatakuwa ni salama kwa mazingira, lakini pia hata wanadamu na viumbe wengine. Kwa maana hiyo zoezi hili kama nilivyosema ni shirikishi, linashirikisha taasisi tofauti.
The Minister of Water, Juma Aweso, has directed all water authorities in the country, including Dar es Salaam Water and Sewage Authority DAWASA, to make sure its citizens who have applied for water services are connected to get the service within 7 days. Minister Aweso gave the directive during a tour of water projects in Dar es Salaam.
Mamlaka zetu za maji ni maunganisho mapya. Hatuwezi kuona kwamba hapa ziwe.
Some water authority offices are new entities. We cannot spend billions of money for one project. People will not understand us. Although water is President's priority, we must supervise and implement directives given.
Ile kazi ya muda mrefu ambayo ilikuwa imeinvolve kilomita 1225 imekamilika.
The long-term project of completing 225 kilometers is complete. I have already inspected the 3 tanks in Bweni, Vikawe and here. 6 booster stations are complete. These are efforts of ensuring that even other areas get access to water.
Mheshimiwa Waziri, sisi tunasema asante sana kwa ajili ya hili maeneo ambayo kuna tabu sana ya maji.
Honorable Minister, we say thank you for this. Kawa constituency had a lot of water problems. Today, Ununio, Mbweni, Boko, Bunju, Salasala and Wazo residents have begun receiving water in good speed.
Maeneo yote hayo sasa mambo yamekuwa ni mazuri sana.
The police force has said that it is prepared to contain criminal activities such as armed robberies and hijacking along highways that might occur in the country during the Christmas and New Year festive period.
Halifu wakae chonjo. Kama kuna mhalifu au kuna mtu bado anafikiria kuendesha maisha yake kwa kufanya vitendo vya uhalifu, ni vizuri mawazo hayo na fikra hizo akazifuta. Na niendelee kusisitiza kwamba kwa wale wahalifu wachache ambao wanaendelea kufikiria kufanya vitendo vya uhalifu, wakae chonjo. Jeshi la polisi na vyombo vingine vya ulinzi na usalama tumejipanga ili kuhakikisha kwamba mazalia ya wahalifu wachache yaliyobaki tunaendelea kuyaondosha.
And that is the end of the national news. We'll take a short break and return for international news. Welcome back, and now international news. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has traveled to Washington for a summit with President Joe Biden, where he will address the U.S. Congress in his first known trip outside the country since Russia's invasion began in February this year. President Zelensky says the visit aims to strengthen resilience and defense capabilities of Ukraine and discuss the cooperation between his country and the United States with President Biden. Moving on to another story, in Kenya, President William Ruto has warned police officers against engaging in politics and to adhere to the law in implementing their duties. The warning comes a few days after Inspector General of Police IGP Japhet Koome directed police officers to shoot criminals who have become a security threat to citizens.
Siasa sisi tuko na watu wengi wa kutusaidia na siasa. Tuko na activists wengi, tuko na lobby groups mingi, tuko na pressure group mingi na watu wengi wa kupiga makelele. Tunataka polisi washughulike na mambo ya usalama ya Wakenya wote bila kujali ni wa mrengo gani wa kisiasa. Sisi siasa na vyama ni mambo ambayo yako katika katiba ya Kenya.
Now, moving to Europe, Germany has formally returned some of the Benin bronzes to Nigeria more than a century after they were looted by the British, while on Monday, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte apologized for his country's historic role in the slave trade. For more on this, let's join DW correspondent Arthur Sullivan. Arthur, can you tell us a little bit about the Benin bronzes and how they came to end up in Germany, and why are they now going back to Nigeria?
So the Benin bronzes is a collection of thousands of sculptures and metal plaques which decorated the royal palace in the former Kingdom of Benin, going back as far as the 13th century. Now that kingdom is located in was located in what is present-day Nigeria. Incredibly important artworks from a hugely influential centre of African civilization. But the way they ended up in German hands was that in 1897, British forces attacked the Kingdom of Benin, looted the artworks and sold them all across Europe, and more than 1,000 ended up being bought by various museums in Germany alone, with many more across Europe. Now, for decades there have been campaigns to have these artefacts returned to their countries of origin, and the Benin bronzes is a very important case in that regard, and the government in Germany has come fully on board behind campaigns to have them returned. And at that ceremony this week, which you mentioned, the German foreign minister spoke of righting a historic wrong and in fully owning up to Germany's role in buying these artworks from the British, and also rebuffing attempts to have them brought back to their country of origin for more than a century. And although some will remain in German museums, the crucial fact is they are all now legally owned by Nigeria, and any that remain in Europe will simply be on loan.
And from what you're saying, is this part of a wider attempt by countries like Germany to reckon with their colonial past?
Well, Germany had a substantial colonial empire in the 19th century and in the early 20th century, encompassing several African countries, including parts of present-day Cameroon and Namibia, among several others. Now, while Germany has often received credit for the way in which it has dealt with its Nazi past from World War II, it's a much more mixed bag when it comes to the colonial empire. For many years there was little engagement, but certainly there does appear to have been somewhat of a shift in recent years. You know, for example, just a few weeks ago we saw some streets in the German capital here, Berlin, were renamed due to their links with figures from the colonial past. And we've also seen, for example, with things like this in the Benin bronzes, they have been described as relatively small gestures in the grand scheme of things, because what many countries want are reparations. Now, last year the German government paid Namibia 1.1 billion as a gesture of reconciliation for the genocide, which they did acknowledge, of tens of thousands of people there between 1904 and 1908. But that was criticised in Namibia for the fact that it was not legally referred to as reparations, for fear that it could lead to other similar claims.
This week, the Netherlands apologized for its role in the slave trade. Is this an indication that European countries are getting better at dealing with their history?
I would say that's, again, something of a mixed bag. So the Dutch Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, did make a clear apology for the Netherlands' role in the slave trade and was very clear, said that the Netherlands had enabled, encouraged and profited from slavery. And we have seen more of these kinds of apologies in recent years. We saw the French President Emmanuel Macron apologise for his country's role in the Rwandan genocide. We've also seen the King of Belgium apologise for atrocities in the Congo. That apology happened in 2020. But these apologies in themselves become very controversial for the way they are done, or indeed for not going far enough. And just to take the Dutch one as an example, that apology was criticised by many campaigners who said that the King should have made the apology, and they also say there was a lack of consultation with the former colonies over how and when it was made. And then there's also the question of monuments linked to colonial rules, and of course that topic of reparations. So there is a long, long road to go, and it is of course worth mentioning that two of Europe's biggest former colonial powers, that's Britain and Spain, they in particular have shown a dogged reluctance to apologise for historic actions during their periods of imperial rule.
Well, thank you so much, Arthur, for those insights. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the international news. We'll take a short break and return for business stories. Welcome back, and now business news. The government in Kilimanjaro region has launched a new ginger processing factory called Mamba Miamba in Same district that is expected to open opportunities to ginger farmers who had to travel long distances and undergo process their produce in neighboring districts.
It is important to inspect goods before taking to markets. This will assure quality of our product, and all our ginger will get reliable markets in domestic and foreign. This factory is at a right place and has the capacity of producing 10 tons of ginger per day, which is equal to 30,000 tons annually.
With a few days remaining until Christmas and New Year festivities start, prices for various food products in Kalambo District Ruka region have continued to rise, with a kilo of rice selling at 3,000 shillings, up from 1,800 shillings, while a sack of beans has gone up from 80,000 shillings to 300,000 shillings.
Goods prices have continued to rise. Rice was sold at 2,000 shillings and now it is 3,000 shillings. Not just rice, even maize prices have gone up. I wonder how Christmas celebrations will be. Because of festivities, people are forced to buy things despite the hiked prices.
The Ministry of Blue Economy in Zanzibar has started a new process that will ensure small fishermen use modern fishing methods, being measures taken to increase production and conservation of fish species.
Imeshawekeza kwa kutengeneza boti za mashine za fiber kwa wavuvi wadogo wadogo zitakazowawezesha kuwa na nyenzo bora, mishipi ya kisasa, vifaa vya uokozi pamoja na vifaa vya kisasa vya kuongoza boti hizo, lakini pia kutafutia samaki.
Unamsaidia walau kupata taarifa za kujua wapi anaweza kumkuta samaki, lakini vile vile kumpeleka salama sehemu ya uvuvi na kumrejesha nyumbani salama, kwa sababu tutakuwa tunatumia GPS system ambayo inaonesha hata track yake ambayo anatembea nayo, wapi anakwenda, wapi kurudi, na akipata emergency au hatari anaweza pia kusema yupo eneo gani kwa mfumo wa GPS systems ili kuweza kupata nusura kuokolewa.
Na kujitahidi kufundisha si hili tu na lingine walikuwa mtakayokuja ambao kwamba hatuna elimu nalo, basi wajitahidi kutufundisha.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the business news. We'll take a short break and return for sports stories. Glad to have you back, and now sports news. Kicking off with football, Simba Sports Club have dropped points again after attaining a 1-1 draw against Kagera Sugar at Kaitaba Stadium in Kagera. Kagera went ahead in the game through Ali Ramadan before defender Enoch Inonga cancelled the goal, and so the match ended with a 1-1 draw for both teams. Heading on to other sports, Tanzania representatives in the World Athletics competition have returned from Melbourne, Australia, where the competition took place with energy to implement the experience they obtained in the competition.
It's a great opportunity because I get to compete internationally and get better times and swim with many other competitive swimmers from other countries. I had a great experience because it was a different country and a different type of pool, and I also got to meet a lot of people and learn more about my swimming techniques and how to do much better. I did really well in my events, and I hope to do much better since I learned that what I did wrong in the competition. I came back here to train for more opportunities and better competitions.
Ibrahim Ajib has signed a two-year contract with Singida Big Stars. Here is more.
The former Simba and Yanga player was left by Azam FC as his contract ends this transfer window after one unsuccessful year at the club. Ajibu was signed by Azam from Simba last January window, but he has failed to shine at the Chamazi club. The talented bow dancer has signed a two-year contract at Singida, who are fourth in the Premier League standings behind Azam.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.